We're talking today with Bert Rowe of Niles, Michigan, and the interviewer is James Smither of the Grand Valley State University Veterans History Project. Okay, Bert, start us off with some background on yourself, and to begin with, where and when were you born?
I was born on April of 1930.
Okay, and where were you born?
And where I was born was in Saginaw, or no,
Saginaw, Michigan.
Yeah.
Yeah,
right.
It was Saginaw.
Okay. Now, did you grow up there, or did you move around when you were a kid?
I grew up and I followed my mother. She divorced my dad, and I followed her into Muskegon Heights,
Mm-hmm.
and we joined the Marine Corps in Muskegon Heights, and I flew a number of airplanes.
Okay. Now I want to back up a little bit and fill in some more of the background. So how old were you when you moved to Muskegon Heights?
Probably I was a teenager.
Okay. All right. So you were still living in Saginaw then, kind of through the 1930s?
Through 1930,
Okay.
yeah.
And what was your family doing for a living in the 30s? What kind of job did your dad have?
My dad had a job in the Navy. He was I think he was seems to me that he was a television or
Like a teletype operator or radio operator? Or
he was a communications
Okay.
operator.
Okay. All right.
And he was that in Hawaiian Islands, and he remained that as a communications officer.
Mm-hmm. So he was off in Hawaii, and your family was back in Michigan?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Now, did your mother work outside of the home, or?
Yes, she taught.
Okay.
She taught grade school, and also she taught primary education.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And she was a very good teacher, and she taught me. I was one of the lucky ones that I had her for 3 or 4 years.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Now, you were kind of young then, but do you remember how you heard about Pearl Harbor?
Well, I heard Pearl Harbor. The nasty Japanese bombed Pearl Harbor,
Right.
and they included the city of Honolulu and Pearl Harbor, and they came out of the north, and they seemed to migrate southward, and they bombed Pearl Harbor, and they also bombed the famous. See, I was trying to think of what the famous.
Well, they bombed the Army base, which was Schofield Barracks.
Yeah.
And then the movie From Here to Eternity has a scene of them doing that. And they bombed the airfields and so forth too. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, was your father in Hawaii when Pearl Harbor happened?
No.
Okay.
No, he went later.
Okay. All right. Just going to go back then to your main story. So you graduated from high school in '48, and then about a year later you decided to join the Marine Corps. Why did you join the Marine Corps?
Because they were begging for I wanted to bring the Marine Corps home. I probably did that, and as I mentioned before, I've flown a number of airplanes, aircraft. Sinclair aircraft.
Okay. So you were doing this before you joined the Marine Corps?
Yes.
Okay. So did you take flying lessons then?
Yes.
Okay.
And I took flying lessons, and I also flew airplanes during the war.
Meaning during the Korean War?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
The Korean War.
All right.
And I flew aircraft up to the time I joined the Marine Corps, and I was quickly. I didn't fly during the combat. I flew airplanes and it moved a lot of aircraft.
Okay.
And we also flew airplanes. I always wanted to take off on a Corsair, and I had one incident that I flew an airplane and I got the tail up, and it I flew with the tail in the air, and I crashed into a fence, and I managed to the Spanish, or not Spanish, but I had the tail in the air, and I managed to
Well, you hit a
demolition,
fence. All right.
demolition of a Hawaiian house, and nothing happened to me, and nothing happened materially. I just scared the hell out of it.
Now, I kind of want to try to back up again here and try to kind of put your story together in a little bit in order, if we can. So you enlist in the Marine Corps in about 1949. I think that was what you figured you did.
Yeah.
And you did that voluntarily. You weren't drafted. They were looking for volunteers. Now, when you enlisted, did you hope to be a pilot, or did they tell you you couldn't be a pilot?
No, I didn't hope to be a pilot.
Okay.
I went in the ground troops.
Okay.
And I kept pretty much the air wing. I was air wing for probably 2 or 3 years.
Okay. Now, when you first now after you enlist, first thing you do would be to go to boot camp, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Where did you go to boot camp?
I went to Parris Island.
Okay. So you go to South Carolina.
Yeah.
All right. Now, what kind of reception did you get when you arrive at Parris Island? What do they do first?
Well, we rode a train in Parris Island, and I had control of some of the I had control of a certain number of people.
Okay. So you were keeping an eye on some of the recruits or keeping them together? Yeah. Okay.
And I had a major that was pretty salty, and he gained my confidence, and he knew I've flown airplanes, and so he kind of cheated a little bit. Don't ever, I won't even mention his name, but he made sure I flew a little bit.
Okay. Well, at Parris Island, they weren't flying, though.
No.
Now, Parris Island, that's what I was kind of asking about was, what was the experience at Parris Island like?
Oh, it was rough. It was probably made a man out of me a lot quicker, and I was stationed at Jacksonville, and I also flew unofficially
Now, when you said Jacksonville, do you mean Jacksonville, Florida?
yeah.
Okay, because there's also a Jacksonville, North Carolina that's close to Camp Lejeune. So, but you were at a Naval Air Station at Jacksonville? So,
At Jacksonville, Florida.
right, okay.
And we had 2 or 3 guys that belonged to the same group, and they also were from Michigan, mid-Michigan, and we had a jolly good time, and but we kind of mixed it up, and we had a good time in service.
Okay.
And I was still a sergeant, and I had a crew that maintained, I think, three planes.
Okay. Now, was this at Jacksonville or in Korea or?
That spread over
Okay.
to Korea.
All right. Now, what kind of aircraft did your men work on?
They worked on Corsairs and the AU-1s, not the old fighter, but
Mm-hmm.
but we maintained AU-1s,
Okay. Now,
and they were pretty much a bomber.
right. So ground attack aircraft
Yeah.
rather than fighter plane. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, because they used a lot of those for ground support in Korea.
Yeah.
Okay. So about how many men did you have in your crew?
I had 3 men.
Okay, so 3 men, but they would take care of 3 aircraft?
Yeah, they would take care of one another's aircraft.
Okay. All right. Now, did they train you as a mechanic in Jacksonville, or because you have boot camp at Parris Island, and then
Yeah.
if you're going to learn how to work on aircraft, you need to be on an air base.
Yeah.
So was it in Jacksonville where you kind of started to actually work on the
I
planes?
was at a aircraft base during most of the war, and I maintained under a staff sergeant. I maintained a 3 planes.
Right. Okay. And then you mentioned you also got to fly them some of the time. So was that
Yeah.
taking them from like one base to another, or just to check them out to make sure they flew properly?
They allowed me since with flying experience, that I would move airplanes around the base.
Okay.
Around the base and pretty much flew planes occasionally. And that's when I could steal a ride, and I would fly some combat, but not a trained combat. But we had a couple of Brits fly our planes, and they would act as taxi pilots, and they would do more flying than I would, and I would clear the runway with snow, and it was pretty much land planes and Corsairs.
Okay. Now, was the snow in Korea?
Yes.
Okay. I don't think I have a lot of snow in Jacksonville, Florida, all that often. Okay.
No.
Now, do you remember where you were when the Korean War started? Were you in Jacksonville at that time?
I was in Jacksonville.
Okay. And then after it started, about how long was it before you got sent over to Korea? Because the war starts in about June of 1950.
Yeah.
And how long then after that did you go to Korea?
Oh, I probably spent maybe 2 years, 1 year. I probably spent 1 year in Korea.
Okay. So after so after the war started, you stayed on in Jacksonville for a while before they sent you to Korea. You didn't go right away.
Pardon me?
So you didn't go to Korea right away after the war started?
No.
Okay. It took a little while. And then when you did go, did your did the whole unit go, or just your group of guys who were mechanics go? Did all the pilots and the aircraft all go together, or was it just a smaller?
They went by train, and sent us over by train. Managed to fly a little bit, probably 10, 20 hours. Oh, excuse me.
Water there?
Here. Would you like one?
Oh, no, thank you.
I beg your pardon. No.
No.
I
Thank you.
should have asked you first.
I don't drink an interview. Okay. All right. So now so to get you to now, did you go to the West Coast and then go to Korea from there? So you're talking about taking trains. Did you take a train to the West Coast, or did you fly the planes over?
No, I didn't. I didn't come in to the West Coast until I came back.
Okay. So when you went over to Korea, then where did you ship out, or did you fly over, or in transport planes, or did you?
I wanted to transport boats.
Okay, so you went by sea. So where did you ship out from?
We shipped out.
It could have been Jacksonville.
Huh?
It could have been Jacksonville. It could have been,
No, it was San Francisco.
Okay, well that is the West Coast.
Yeah.
So how did you get to San Francisco?
By train.
Okay, so you take a train cross country, get on a boat in San Francisco. And what do you remember about the voyage from San Francisco to Korea?
Oh, it was a humdinger. it was a passenger boat,
Mm-hmm.
and it had well my tent or my
They still have cabins. They had cabins or rooms that they put a bunch of guys in.
yeah
Okay.
they had them down underneath.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, there's I had a rude awakening one morning, and the 6-inch cannon fired outside of Japan.
Mm-hmm.
It fired several rounds of ammunition, and it scared the hell out of me. I was abruptly awake, and it was mostly Marine Corps. It was a mixture of airmen and ground troops.
Yeah.
And it scared the crap out of us. It was.
So you had the cannon firing, which was bad enough. Were the seas rough? Did people get sick?
Yes, they were rough. In fact, I think I went over on. I was thinking it was most of the time we were on I was trying to think the name of it, and I lost that.
Mm-hmm. Okay. But you said it was a converted passenger ship?
Yes.
Okay. Now, did you get to spend a lot of time on deck, or did they make you stay below?
Well, we spent a lot of time on deck,
Mm-hmm.
and it was because of storms,
Mm-hmm.
and they wouldn't let us into Japan.
You had a
Because-
hurricane or something,
Okay.
didn't you, Kel?
Yeah,
Yeah. Okay.
it, yeah, we had a hurricane, and it was oh, what the heck? I can't remember the name of it. It was seems like it was the ward, and it was oh,
All right.
it was a boat or a passenger
Right.
boat,
Right. Okay.
and it it was splashing, and it was diving, and
Did you think you were going to sink, or?
I thought we were a couple times, and it was it was I was trying to think also what port we went into,
Mm-hmm.
and I just forgot it.
Yeah. Well, it can be. I mean, a lot went to Yokohama. Some went to Sasebo or Osaka. There's different bases you could have gone to. But do you think you were in Tokyo Bay somewhere, or Yokosuka, or anyway? Now, when you got to Japan, did they let you get off the ship? And did you
Under guard.
Okay.
Under guard. And there was quite a few civilians
Mm-hmm.
that were on board, and they also got off from the
Mm-hmm.
ship, because it wasn't very comfortable.
Right.
It it began with a hurricane, and they wouldn't let us go in
Mm-hmm.
shore with a hurricane,
Right.
and so we stuck around. If you can imagine
Mm-hmm.
it, and I know I got sick.
Mm-hmm. So they kind of had to clean the ship before you got back on it.
Yeah,
All right. Now, how long did you stay in Japan? Were you just there a few hours or a few days, or?
I was there a few days.
Okay.
Then
Hello? Hello? Oh,
You were kind of in the middle.
I didn't even think about her.
Okay. All right. So we were talking about, okay, you were kind of briefly in Japan, and then do they put you back on the same ship to go to Korea, or do you get on a different one, or?
no, we flew.
Oh, you'll get to fly now. Okay.
Yeah, we flew over to Korea in a passenger plane
Okay.
From where?
Well,
from Japan.
Mhm.
Tommy.
Hmm?
Tommy, Japan.
Okay. All right. And then,
That was an Air Force
Right.
base.
and then where did you land in Korea?
I ended up well, it was pretty tough. But we ended up on a flight of trainers,
Mm-hmm.
and I fell asleep and above the mountains, and I've fallen asleep, and all of a sudden I got a change of pitch, and the airplane. It was a fallen. It lost its power
Oh.
on on the engine, and it kind of startled me out of my sleep,
Mm-hmm.
and I said I never would jump from an airline, and I did. I was probably about halfway down the plane, and I proceeded to said I'm going to jump. I thought the airplane had changed pitch, and it did, and it kind of scared the hell out of me.
Okay. But they got the power back, though.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Oh yeah. They got the power back, because it was, I was halfway to the rear to jump out of the tail end of the plane, but I suddenly red face and all. And afterwards,
I don't know how much time he had, but it's been about an hour. Now, do you want to go on, or do you want to, because,
Well, my time is actually pretty flexible.
what?
I'm pretty flexible. I mean, we're
Okay,
here,
well,
probably like to just
Okay,
finish.
I was just trying to make him go a little faster, so.
No, we're okay. It sort of
Okay.
it takes however long it takes.
All
Okay.
right.
So the flight to Korea was interesting.
yeah,
All right, but you land safely in Korea. Now, what base were you at in Korea? So where were you working?
I was appointed a sergeant,
Mm-hmm.
working for a staff sergeant,
Right.
and I had control of 2 fighter planes.
Mm-hmm.
There are three fighter
right,
planes,
okay.
and the crew that I had was
These are the same guys you had in Jacksonville.
yeah.
Okay. Now, where were you based? What air base were you on?
I think it was a Tommy.
That's Japan.
Yeah,
Okay, but in Korea though, you were on a base.
yeah. I was on a base in Korea.
But you don't know which one.
No, it was,
Were there any towns nearby that you can remember, or?
no, it was, we had Japanese, some teenagers, and
Did they work for you?
yeah, they worked for us.
Japanese or Koreans? If you're in Korea, you'd have
It
Koreans.
was Korean.
Right, okay.
Yeah, it was Korean. They were washing planes and they weren't mechanically involved
Right.
in the planes, and that was our job.
Mm-hmm.
But we had a few Koreans that were they were fish. They were probably farmers.
Mm-hmm.
Most of them were farmers, and they also carried bazookas, and we kept an eye on them, and killed a few of them. But we got along with them.
Okay. You said you killed a few of them?
Yeah,
Were there people who were attacking your base or trying to steal things, or?
they were stealing,
Okay.
and they a few of them were pretty reliable,
Mm-hmm.
and they would be, sometimes they would be caught out in the field, and they would have firearms,
Mm-hmm.
and they were actually farmers. And this was in Japan. So
In Japan rather than Korea?
yeah,
So there were Japanese farmers carrying weapons around?
yeah.
Okay. All right. Okay. Now, but I guess I'm trying to sort out here, but basically, so your time overseas, I mean, did you spend a lot of time on a base in Japan, or were you really just in Korea?
I went to Korea.
Okay. So you shouldn't have been seeing a whole lot of Japanese farmers
No,
if you're in Korea. Okay.
no,
So the guys with carrying the guns would have been in Korea.
yeah.
Okay. I'm just trying to keep that straight for the benefit of the audience here. Okay. All right.
Yeah, that is correct.
Okay. Now, the base that you were on, was this just Marine aircraft there? Or were there Air Force planes too, or just your guys?
There were some Air Force
Mhm.
planes. There were some fighter groups that
Okay.
were on ground.
Okay. All right. Now, who provided security for your base? Did you have Army or Marines or?
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't really know.
So it wasn't you.
No,
Okay.
no, but we had Sergeant of the Guard,
Mm-hmm.
and they were Marines, and they furnished most of the security
Okay.
around the base.
Now, did you have any trouble with anyone ever trying to attack the base? Were there ever air attacks or artillery or anything?
No,
Okay.
no,
So-
there was nothing like that, and there was one incident where we had to shoot Japanese out of the air, and that was they were some
Okay.
bombers that would bomb the or would bomb the Koreans
Mm-hmm.
that were active against us.
Mm-hmm.
They would bomb outside of oh, geez. I'm
Well,
trying to remember.
So they were attacking whatever the stuff closer to the front lines, and you were, or would they attack your base as well?
Well, they would attack the base. And they were Japanese.
Or Chinese, maybe? The Japanese weren't fighting in this war. You had
No.
Koreans, and you had the North Koreans, and there were Chinese who were fighting you.
They were Chinese or they weren't Japan.
No.
But
They were the bad guys.
yeah,
You want a Kleenex?
yeah.
Okay.
They were.
Now, would they send just a few bombers at you, or a lot of them?
They would send fighter bombers,
Okay.
and they would be patrols throughout the day.
Just get in the trash.
All right. Now, were the fighter bombers, were those the Chinese or Korean ones that were attacking you, or are those the ones that you sent after them?
They were the ones that we sent after
Okay.
them.
All right. And so was it your aircraft that shot down the enemy bomber, or was it anti-aircraft guns? Because you said you shot one down.
Yeah, we shot our share of them.
Mm-hmm. Okay. But was it your aircraft that shot the enemy aircraft down, or did you have anti-aircraft guns that were shooting?
We had guns
Okay.
that we would shoot,
All right. Now,
and also we played baseball against
some of the Koreans?
some of the no, the GIs.
Okay. Okay.
The GIs, and they would and I played first base and hardball,
Mm-hmm.
and we had Marines shooting shooting at hurricanes and some of these cases that we'd fire on or Korean fighters,
Mm-hmm.
and they and sometimes they would happen during the ball game.
Oh, okay.
and it'd be a scraping, that type of.
Okay, so a little bit of seventh inning stretch at the wrong
Yeah.
time. Okay. Now, most of the time, was it pretty safe on your base?
Yes.
Okay. Now, what kind of living quarters did you have? Did you sleep in tents or in barracks?
We slept in tents.
Okay. And how big were the tents? Were they 2-man or 6-man or?
There were probably maybe about six men tents, and we get shot at once in a while.
Mm-hmm.
And in fact, as in Korea, I had a sergeant tried to clean my clock, and and he tried to impose his ugly body, and I ended up trying to run through the door. And, you know, there was a little hand-to-hand combat,
Okay.
but
Now, see, were you there? So you were there at least a full year. So were you there during the winter in Korea?
yes,
And what was winter in Korea like?
it was cold. It was cold and snow.
Did you have any kind of heater inside the tent, or did you just have sleeping bags and?
We had sleeping bags and cots.
Mm-hmm. But was there a stove or anything like that, or?
Yeah, there was heat,
Mm-hmm.
and they were either kerosene heat, and it was. The fact is, I crashed through a door and trying to get out of the tent,
Mm-hmm.
and we had a little bit of tent and Quonset huts,
Mm-hmm.
and we had fire pits outside, and it pretty shaky sometimes.
Okay. Now, did you ever get to go into Seoul or into any of the larger cities or towns? Or?
Yeah,
Okay.
I got into Seoul, and we didn't really get into anything in Japan.
Mm-hmm.
Fact is, we got along with the Japanese probably as well as could be.
Mm-hmm.
And we didn't really have any hand-to-hand combat with Japanese. It
So,
was-
of course, you weren't in Japan, so
yeah,
or with the Koreans either, though. I mean, you didn't have trouble with the Korean civilians.
no,
Okay.
no, we didn't have any combat with not any known
Mm-hmm.
combat with Koreans,
Mm-hmm.
because we were like to think that we were too good for, but that wasn't the case. That we had some aircraft skirmishes,
Mm-hmm.
but it wasn't that much combat.
Okay. So the planes that you were working on, would they come back with bullet holes or battle damage?
Oh
Okay.
yeah, we would repair our aircraft, and they had bullet holes.
Didn't you have some nighttime visitors?
Oh yeah. We had nighttime fighters that would they would attack during the nighttime, and they would share a good part of the combat.
Mm-hmm. You know, would they just send one or two of those at a time to kind of keep you awake or bother you?
Yeah,
Yeah, the bed check Charlie thing. Yeah.
yeah, bed check. Accurately portrayed.
Mm-hmm. Now, when they came at night, I mean, did you have any aircraft that would fly at night to chase them off, or did you just have the anti-aircraft guns? When the enemy attacks at night, would you fight back or just let them go?
They would occasionally have nighttime fighters,
Mm-hmm.
and they would try to. The Koreans would try to fight them off.
Mm-hmm.
But they never completed any casualties.
Mm-hmm.
But they there wasn't too much.
Okay.
There wasn't probably too much combat
Mm-hmm.
between fighters or.
Okay. Now, If you think about the time that you spent in Korea, are there other kind of memories you have of that you haven't talked about yet?
Yeah.
And so what other stories could you bring in here?
Not to tell stories, but there probably weren't too many approaches by women,
Mm-hmm.
but they always get in the picture.
Okay, so there were women around looking for business.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, that was part of life. And then now, would they be off of the base and the men would go find them, or would they come onto the base?
Well, sometimes they come on the base, but they didn't have too many.
Mm-hmm. Well, there wasn't a big town close by or anything.
No.
You were kind of out in the country someplace.
Yeah.
So there wasn't a whole lot of business. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, we were probably it was probably combat free, if you figure out what I mean. They were non-combatant.
All right. Well, we were talking about just sort of what life in Korea was like and that kind of thing, and you had talked some about encountering locals of different sorts. You had businesswomen, if you will, who were around the base and so forth, but you also had Koreans who worked for you on the base. They cleaned the planes. Did you have people who cleaned
Clothes?
Yeah, the clothes and that kind of
Yeah.
thing for you too?
Yeah.
All right. Now, while you were in Korea, did you pretty much stay with the same group of guys the whole time? So you came in with your crew and then stayed with them?
Well, you pretty much stayed with them.
Right. Because it wasn't like sometimes you had people who rotated in and out of units.
Yeah.
And would kind of come and go. But your guys all pretty much were there with you the whole time?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Now, did you leave Korea before the fighting officially ended? So there's an armistice in 1953.
Yeah. Well, I would say the armistice of '53 was probably did I serve in Miami?
Did you what?
Did I serve in Miami? I can't remember now.
Well, when you enlisted, did you enlist for 3 years or for 4 years?
3 years.
Okay. Now, if you went in 49, that would take you to 52. But you might have come back from Korea and had some time left on your enlistment.
Yeah.
And then they got to put you somewhere. So you think you went to Miami then?
I went to Miami.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, do you remember anything about the trip from Korea back to the U.S.? And how did they get you home from Korea?
Boat.
Okay. And was that ride any better than the other one?
Yeah. It was a lot more peaceful.
Okay.
And it was also a lot more wind.
Mm-hmm.
And so we had the factor of wind.
And you had to stay offshore?
Yeah, so we had to stay offshore, pretty much in place, and it was
Now, was that when you were waiting to land in the U.S., you had to stay offshore?
yeah.
Okay. So kind of like when you went to Japan, you had to stay offshore, but this time there was no typhoon.
No,
Okay.
no, there was some wind, but nothing like what was going
Hmm.
over.
Okay. And then where did you land in the States?
San Francisco.
Okay. Did they give you a leave to go home? Or
Yeah.
Okay. All right. And then after that, you went to Miami?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, was it your same group now at Miami, or did they put you in a different unit?
A different unit.
Okay. And so what were you doing in Miami?
I was doing the same thing,
Okay.
except I had civilian, or not civilian, but it was a lot quieter. We didn't have any Japanese or Koreans or anything like that, but we found our own contact, sometimes with officers.
Okay. So when you're off duty, you're out there having a good time, and sometimes too good a time.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, were you still working on Corsairs, or did you have different aircraft?
We had probably different aircraft, because we had particularly in California, and we had a lot of characters.
Okay.
I still say I lose it, the term. We had our skirmishes, but we didn't have any bullets coming back.
All right. I was asking about the aircraft you were working on. What kind of planes did you have in Miami?
Seems like they had more jets.
Okay. Yeah, because jets had come in a big
Yeah.
way.
They had more jets protecting either practice missions or a lot of that.
Okay. So did you get to work on the jets?
Yes, I did. I worked on jets and I didn't fly any, but because we had foreign. Well, we didn't have foreign, but we had we had comment on and it didn't amount to much of anything, but there were few fighters, and most of them were most of them were flown by
Well, you have Navy pilots or Marine pilots, or
no, there were down in southern Korea. Most of them were Corsairs. And
yeah, okay, yeah. I guess we've been talking about we kind of finished. We were kind of talking about sort of the last part of your enlistment when you were in Florida, and when you're there, you have jet aircraft and so forth to work on.
Yeah.
All right, that kind of thing. Okay, and then so basically, now was that the last duty station you had?
Yes.
So you finished that. Okay.
I had.
Did you have any time in California, or just in and out?
I was in and out of California, and I probably maybe I'd have more liberty, but we didn't have the combat planes that we had before, because most of them were has-beens.
So you had older aircraft?
Yeah.
Hello?
Okay, all right. So now, as you were getting to the end of your enlistment, did the Marine Corps people encourage you to stay in? Did they want you to re-enlist?
Yeah.
Okay. And what did they offer you?
I think that's probably when I made sergeant.
Well, hadn't you been sergeant already?
No,
Okay.
I was probably a sergeant, working under a staff sergeant.
Okay. But did they offer you a promotion to staff sergeant?
No,
Okay.
they didn't. They didn't They didn't combat or. They just left us alone.
Okay. So they didn't really try that hard to get you to re-enlist?
Yeah.
Okay. So then when you left, so when do you leave the Marine Corps then? Is that 52? After 3 years?
3 years.
Okay, so 52. And what did you do after you got out? Did you go back to Michigan?
I bragged about the Marine Corps.
Okay.
No, I came back to Michigan, and it was pretty calm.
Okay. All right.
And he married me.
You got married. Okay, what year did you get married?
Oh, I'd say.
Go ahead, tell him.
Huh?
This is a test.
Tell him.
Oh.
What year did we get married?
I got married, I think. I don't know. I can't remember when.
Oh, that's not good. That's not good. Okay. But did you meet after he got back from Korea?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
All right.
we got married back in, well, I think it was back in Miami, wasn't it?
Hmm.
Okay. So.
Well, we actually got married in Benton Harbor, but
Yeah,
Okay. So you knew him while he was still in the Marine Corps.
Mhm.
Okay. All right. I'm sort of sorting that part out. Okay. And then, what kind of work did you go into? What kind of job did you have?
well, I think I turned down a job of, didn't I?
well, he went to work for Clark Equipment Company.
Okay.
That's
Yeah, that's
Mm-hmm.
the most work that I did as a civilian.
All right. And what did you do for them? Was it manufacturing or sales or repairs or?
I had or not a division, but I had I kept the graders.
nothing to do with Korea.
No,
He
there
said,
was
what kind of
nothing.
work did you do for Clark Equipment Company?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
I ran the what the hell was it?
Well, you were operating a machine, or were you leading a group
No.
of people?
I
Managing a
Leading.
department or something? Or?
I was leading people.
Okay. It's like a foreman or?
Yeah. General foreman.
All right. Now, when you think back about the time that you spent in the Marine Corps, how do you think that affected you, or did you learn anything from it?
Well, I bragged about the Marine Corps. Other than that, I went to school.
Mm-hmm.
I finished out.
well, you got your college degree.
Yeah,
Okay.
my
So,
college degree.
okay. So you got GI Bill you got GI benefits from it.
Yeah,
Now, do you think you also grew up a little while you were in there?
yeah.
Okay.
I didn't brag quite so much.
Very good. All right. Well, you're not the only person to be proud of having been in the Marine Corps. So I'll just close this out by thanking you for taking the time to talk to me today.
We are here, and there's a lady that works here at this place, and she brought her 3 sons up to meet him
Mm-hmm.
since we've been here, because her first son wants to be in the Marines.
Ah,
I thought that was,
that's
very,
cool.
very special that she would want him to meet
Mm-hmm.
a Marine.
Right. All right.